Minute limit didn't speak the work here. Mr. Taylor and Dr. Patel, if you guys want to have an extra 3 minutes. Now you know why as professors when we get up here, it's hard to stop us. It's the captive audience.
Hello, everybody. My name's Jeff Taylor. I'm not an expert on high-speed rail by any means. I am a co-founder of Save Bakersfield Committee, which we're just a group of concerned citizens that have questioned the wisdom of this high-speed rail project. Our members support serious study and responsible planning of cost-effective alternative transportation solutions for our state. And we believe that high-speed rail may be a good concept. However, we are opposed to this high-speed rail project as currently planned because it will cause far more negative impacts to our state than positive benefits. The unacceptably high cost of the high-speed rail project will severely damage our state and local economies. The high-speed rail project will destroy an unacceptable amount of community infrastructure and private property, causing our local tax base to be severely impacted. The California high-speed rail project was narrowly approved by 52% of voters in 2008 under specific conditions of Proposition 1A. Prop 1A promised 800 miles of electrified rails with 220 mile-per-hour high-speed trains. The system would connect the San Francisco Bay, San Jose area, excuse me, to the Los Angeles basin, continuing into San Diego. The system also included a connector from the Bay Area to Sacramento. The estimated cost in 2008 was $33 billion. High-speed rail funding was to include private investment. Prop 1A expressly prohibits taxpayer subsidies. The project was to be constructed on existing transportation corridors. Construction would be completed by year 2020. The politically independent state auditor's office issued report number 2009-106, which referenced the Prop 1A ballot initiative's description of serving 7 destination cities by stating, according to state law, the entire network from Sacramento to San Diego is intended to be complete by 2020. The high-speed rail project no longer resembles the project that voters approved in the Prop 1A initiative. The November 1st, 2011 High-Speed Rail Authority's revised 2012 draft business plan clearly states that the scope of the project has been reduced from 800 to 520 miles, and the project no longer includes rail service from LA Basin to San Diego, or a connector to Sacramento. The High-Speed Rail Authority's revised cost estimate has been raised from $33 billion to as much as $117.6 billion. Do the math, and that equals $226 million per mile. The interest that will have to be paid on the state bonds necessary to fund the project will increase the cost of the project to approximately $200 billion, depending on the interest rate. These costs do not include the price to build electric power generation plants necessary for electrified high-speed rail trains. There is no private investment in this project. The project destroys infrastructure. It destroys businesses. It destroys jobs, farm operations, churches, schools, and homes because it does not follow existing transportation corridors as it was supposed to. The date of completion has been increased 13 years to 2033. According to the August 15, 2011 High-Speed Rail Authority Environmental Impact Report, significant Kern County community infrastructure and an unacceptable number of private properties will be destroyed in order to construct railroad tracks and a station through the heart of Bakersfield. The high-speed rail project will destroy 239 homes, displacing as many as 731 residents. Talking about jobs, 282 business locations will be destroyed in Bakersfield alone, affecting 1,352 jobs. As many as 8 churches will be destroyed. The city corporation yard, police garage, and communication center will be destroyed. The Rabobank Convention Center will become useless because the entire center's parking lot will be destroyed to make room for the station. The brand new 160-unit Mill Creek residential development, still under construction, destroyed. The Industrial Arts Building of historically significant Bakersfield High School will be destroyed. Bethel Christian School, destroyed. As many as 2,200 acres of valuable farmland will be destroyed, causing hundreds of millions of dollars of annual lost incomes. The massive destruction of city infrastructure, businesses, jobs, private property, and many other issues prompted the city of Bakersfield to recently adopt a resolution of opposition to the entire high-speed rail project as planned, to address the economic devastation the project will cause our citizens. Thanks to high-speed rail, thousands of Kern County property owners are now unable to sell their properties without disclosing that the high-speed rail project may one day destroy those properties. Thousands of additional properties located within sight and sound of the rail alignment have also had their property values destroyed, which is greatly going to reduce our property tax base. Kern County will lose millions of dollars of annual income through property tax revenues from the destruction of thousands of farm, residential, industrial, commercial, and religious properties that will be destroyed to make rail alignment station locations. Local funding for schools, sheriff, police, fire, correctional, and social services will be severely reduced. The High-Speed Rail Authority is making plans to start construction of tracks without electric-powered high-speed trains or stations. The High-Speed Rail Authority plans to begin construction of the initial construction segment by the end of 2012. There is no private investment and none is expected. There will be no more federal funding for the project. California state bonds will have to be sold to fund the ICS. The ICS will not be electrified. The ICS will not have a high-speed train on it, and it will have no stations. The ICS will have no independent utility. It will probably be the only segment ever constructed and is not the electrified high-speed rail system that voters approved in 2008 Prop 1A initiative. The High-Speed Rail Authority publishes misleading estimates of jobs created by the project by inventing new business term, job years, as my friend has described to you. Clearly, the high-speed rail project is no longer a viable transportation project, so now it is being marketed by the authorities being a job creation project. The High-Speed Rail Authority falsely claims that a project will create 1 million jobs by counting every year of work as a separate job, or job years. So if one person works the project for 10 years, it equals 10 jobs. The authority further exaggerates job creation by falsely claiming that supporting companies such as restaurants and retailers will hire 2 new people for every single construction worker. The authority dishonestly advertises that 20,000 construction workers and 40,000 supporting employees, each working the entire 22-year project, will count as more than 1 million jobs. That's not honest. The authority's job estimates are misleading and over-exaggerated. It is a fact that many thousands of jobs will be destroyed by the project as businesses and farm operations are eliminated throughout the state to make way for the high-speed rail project. Amtrak employs 19,000 full-time persons nationwide to work on a network of thousands of miles of tracks. So is it reasonable to assume that the 520-mile-long California high-speed rail project will produce only a small fraction of the jobs that Amtrak nationwide operation has today? A large percentage of the jobs created will be work that destroys existing businesses and productive farming operations. That destruction will create the loss of thousands of jobs and millions of dollars of annual lost revenues. All technologically dependent jobs, such as construction of high-speed train locomotives and cars, will be located in countries that make high-speed trains, such as China. The steel rails will also be made in other countries due to much cheaper costs. Modern track laying is highly mechanized and efficient. It no longer is labor-intensive like the old days. If state bonds are issued and funds are borrowed to pay for creating jobs, necessary work must be provided to the taxpayers, such as repairing water levees in our delta, repairing and constructing dams, Lake Isabella, and water delivery projects for our farmers. New power generation plants are needed. Our power grid needs to be upgraded. Our existing infrastructure must be maintained. New bridge and road improvements are needed. Any of these essential job alternatives are superior to wasting taxpayer money on a high-speed rail test track without electrification, stations, or a high-speed train. The November 29, 2011 California Legislative Analysis Office is highly critical of the high-speed rail project. I recommend you read it. The January 3, 2012 state-appointed California High-Speed Rail Peer Review Group is also highly critical of the high-speed rail project. The report determines that the project as presented in the 2012 business plan should not be funded by the legislature and that the state should not authorize $2.7 billion in bonds to build the project's initial construction segment. The report concluded that we cannot overemphasize the fact that moving ahead on the high-speed rail project without credible sources of adequate funding, without a definitive business model, without a strategy to maximize the independent utility and value to the state, and without the appropriate management resources represents an immense financial risk on the part of the state of California. Thank you for listening to me.
Good job.
Our last speaker, Dr. Patel.